and welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop. I'm your host Jen, and I'm very excited to talk about today's episode. But before we begin, there will be spoilers as we talk about major events that unfold within the story. In addition, each episode will have a list of trigger warnings in the description. Be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast, and show your support on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. I could really go for a super spooky book right now, but it just seems so silly to sit here and talk to myself about it. Man, I wish there was someone. There's somebody walking by that's reading a spooky. Excuse me.
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Hey. Are you busy?
No.
I saw that you were reading some American Chiller books, and I'm really interested to talk about it. Would you want to be on a podcast?
Yeah, I actually read 3 of them in the last 2 days. Have you read the same 3?
Are they the ones that you're holding right now?
Yeah, all 3 of these books in my hand.
Yeah, I actually read those same 3 books.
Perfect. Let's go.
And welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch your name. You were just walking by, so...
Yeah, I've actually never met you before or been here. I don't know why I was walking around in your apartment. It's kind of weird, but... Hi guys, it's Sabrina. I'm back.
Yeah, we're back again with another episode, and today we are back with the Jonathan Rand series, except we're doing American Chillers this time. If you guys remember, on the first year of the podcast, we did Michigan Chillers. So we were like, you know what? Let's come back with another maximum chill vibes.
We're spreading across the country, and then next spread across the globe.
Jonathan has gone across the globe.
Yeah, which he hasn't.
I don't know if he has a passport, so I don't know if he can go to these places.
Do you think in his passport photo he'd wear his glasses?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't think they would let him, but they kind of have to.
So we have 3 books. Go ahead and tell us what books we've brought today.
Of course. So we have book number 3 in the American Chillers series, Florida Fog Phantoms. Now this one doesn't have alliteration across the board, which actually makes me really angry, because although it sounds like an F, it is a P, and that's deeply offensive. Number 7, Wisconsin Werewolves. And then number 12, Dangerous Dolls of Delaware.
Heck yeah. So we're going to talk about all 3. Obviously, we know that these are children's books. We are just having fun in this spooky little season. So normally we play a little game where we summarize the book in 30 seconds, and I put the pressure on my guest, Sabrina, today. But we're just going to go out and read the backs, because the backs of the books are just so funny.
Creatures of the clouds are coming. This is the big tagline at the beginning. After a mild hurricane passes through the Tampa Bay area of Florida, a mysterious, thick fog settles in. A murky, dark fog. A dangerous fog. Justin Martinez and his friend Caitlin McCalla are about to find out why. There are creatures in the creamy haze.
There it is.
There it is, folks. Bizarre creatures that roam the gray mist, searching for their next victim. And now they're searching for Justin and Caitlin.
Ooh.
Ooh, all of those descriptive words for fog. That's all of them right there on the back. They used everyone.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And I'm glad that Creamy made a...
Me too.
Made a presence there. So what would you say is your favorite quote from the Florida Fog Phantoms?
Yeah, of course. All these books have some really good one-liners, some random lines that make you be like, who in their right mind wrote this? But my favorite was Justin's younger sister, Maria, who's an icon. I love her. Always the younger sister. She was actually quite a bit younger. She was at 8, I think.
Yeah.
She said, I'm hungry. I want some SpaghettiOs. Just minutes after they escape this fog, Justin says, sheesh, which is my favorite. He said that several times in there, but he says,
he did.
Sheesh. We barely escaped with our lives, and all she can think about is food. And I read that, and I was like, okay, I'm glad I found this, because nothing was speaking to me quite until we got to that quote. She's a hungry queen, you know? She went through a lot of work, and now she wants some SpaghettiOs.
Absolutely. Yeah, when I read that, I was like, oh, I mean, you literally just stepped into the house.
It was like the door closed and she wanted SpaghettiOs.
My quote is, so I was actually reading this on Sabrina's bathroom floor, and I was reading this out loud, and I was reading this line, and we both stopped and just went, ooh! So the line is, whatever it was, we couldn't see it anymore. It had vanished in the shadows of the unknown, where the darkness slept and the beasts of the night dwelled. Ooh.
That one was like actually a quality line there.
Yeah, it was actually really good. I was surprised. But yeah, that one definitely stuck out to me. I'll remember that for the rest of my life.
Yep, that's going to be on my tombstone.
So normally we hop into some other discussion stuff, but we want to introduce the other books too, so that way you kind of get an idea, because all of the books they're all very similar, so a lot of the stuff that we're going to say about one thing could be across the board. So we're going to go ahead and introduce Wisconsin Werewolves. So Sabrina, if you would like to read the back of the book.
Of course. So this one comes with a great warning. Whatever you do, don't go out at night. Something horrifying is happening in Madison, Wisconsin. When Jeremy sees a strange beast in the forest, his friends don't believe him. In the dark of night, they set out to find the creature that Jeremy spotted, and they get more than they bargained for. Lurking in the shadows are creatures that they can't believe, creatures that aren't supposed to exist. Werewolves. Jeremy and his friends soon find that the strange, hairy beasts are real, and terrible danger awaits them at every corner.
Kind of mid, but...
it wasn't, like, as exciting. It almost was, like, actually the back cover of a book.
Yeah.
It wasn't very Jonathan Rand, though.
I think he was just having an off day, and that's okay. We can all have off days.
That's true.
So, this one was interesting, and I knew right from the cover that it was going to be not the best of the choices. So, out of the Wisconsin Werewolves, what would you say is your favorite quote?
This one's a long one. Please bear with me. I think I laughed the most in this book because there was just so many things that I was like, what is even happening right now?
Yeah.
So my favorite quote was, he was talking about how they were going to play hide and seek. Mm-hmm. And he says, there were 6 of us playing. Sometimes there's as many as 12, which can be really fun. But tonight wasn't going to be much fun. Oh, it started out fun, but that's not how it ended up. I just stopped after I read it, and I was like, I don't know if I can make it through this book, if this is how you're going to open me into it. Like, First page, I get it. You want to do the suspense and stuff, but, like, you're going back and forth so many times. Like, I'm actually shocked it didn't go for, like, 3 more paragraphs. I did laugh after that, so I mean, it worked if this was supposed to be, like, a funny book in the series.
Yeah, I think that's a very common thing in Jonathan Rand's stories, is that there's a lot of misdirects and quote-unquote suspenseful dialogue. It's not suspenseful at all, especially when if you're a kid, you've read a few of these, you know that the next chapter is just going to be like, anyways, my dad.
Yeah, or when they like, oh, well, later tonight I'm going to find this out. And then it starts the next chapter way before that. And I'm like, why are you telling me what you're going to find out in like 2 hours if it hasn't happened yet? Stop spoiling it. There's suspense and then there's spoiling.
I think Jonathan is just too scared to scare the kids too much.
Oh, that makes sense. Maybe he's too scared. That he's like, I know if right now I would want to know what's going to happen in 2 chapters.
Or maybe he puts it there so he doesn't forget. He's like, God, I gotta remember.
It's just a reminder, and he just forgets to take him out at the end.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
The quote that I have is really stupid, but it starts with, how much farther do we have to go? James whined. I'm missing SpongeBob, you know. Chill out, James, Colette said. Your dad is probably recording the show anyways. He likes it more than you do. Dude, I lost it.
I'm so glad you wrote that down.
Literally laughed out loud. And it was funny because I was in my orientation for my new job, just around strangers reading this child's book, and I laughed out loud while I was reading it. So
probably thought you were insane.
Probably. You know what? Anything for the book stop.
That really reminded me of my own childhood. There was a lot of shows that my dad liked way more than we did.
So our last book we have is Dangerous Dolls of Delaware, if you would like to start reading.
While digging in the forest, Serena and Spencer discover something odd. Something is spelled incorrectly.
What's spelled incorrectly?
The word something. Wow. While digging in the forest, Serena and Spencer discover something odd. An old box made of wood buried in the ground. What's even stranger are the contents in the box. 2 tattered old dolls. How did they get there? Why? The secret is revealed by a curious old woman on the other side of the city, and what she tells them is shocking. The dolls, now that they've been dug up, will slowly begin to come alive. Serena, Spencer, and their family are in terrible danger unless they can rebury the dolls in the forest. It sounds simple, but it won't be. For those dolls have minds of their own, and they aren't going to go without putting up a fight. That was probably the most suspenseful one of all of them.
I think this one was definitely it was for sure the best one out of all the books that we've done on the podcast. But
just all the books.
Just every book out
Every
there.
book. Fourth Wing, trash.
Foxhole Court.
Dangerous Dolls of Delaware is where it's at, okay?
Number 1!
Actually, this was probably my least favorite of the 3, as far as just content, because I honestly have come to love the really bad ones. This one was the most well-written, so I was kind of like, you're not giving me what I'm asking for here, Jonathan.
The expectations are too high.
I'm not looking for a real book.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a book about werewolves wearing clothes.
So, what would you say is your favorite quote from the Dangerous Dolls of Delaware?
One of the lines that I was like, okay, you finally got down what a child would be thinking. A lot of the time I'm like, whose kid is this? Their mom was making breakfast. Their dad was complaining about the breakfast. She says, I don't know what cholesterol is, but dad has a lot of it and mom's been trying to make him get rid of it. That I was like, okay, that's something that absolutely a child would say. So I just thought that was so funny. And then it continues where he's complaining about it more. But that was like the best line of the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I like that. It did give that sense of, okay, a child would actually say that. Because if she was like, yeah, my dad's cholesterol, and then just gave like a number.
Yeah, like the video where the girl's like, yeah, well, my dad has diabetes. And she's like, well, my dad has a gold tooth.
Yeah.
You'd bring it up like that.
So the quote that I brought this is from Mrs. Kerwin. Sometimes, children, it's better if wishes don't come true. Nothing is truly free, and all dreams have a price. She's teaching these kids a life lesson. I think that's just, it speaks for itself. Don't lie to your kids and be like, all your dreams will come true. You know, sometimes they don't. And if they do...
Sometimes your dolls come to life, and you don't want that to happen.
And sometimes you get turned into a doll in the middle of a doll-infested house. And that just happens sometimes.
Honestly, she kind of asked for it. If she was going to own over 3,000 dolls, maybe she shouldn't be worried about turning into one.
But yeah, let's hop into our likes and dislikes. Now, this is going to be our likes and dislikes across the board from each book, or it could be in general.
Some things I really liked in the werewolf one and the doll one, the time span. So in the ones that we read before, I remember them being over like a couple hours. The mummies one was like 3 minutes, but it felt like 10 days. It didn't make any sense.
That one was a disaster.
But I really liked it was taking longer. That is more of a build-up than anything else, is time. So the werewolves were there, you know, they first spot the werewolf, then they have the daytime, so obviously they're not going to be out. They went through like 3 days in that one, and the dolls one was the same, where they went through a couple days, and the dolls were more and more to life. The Fog Phantom one was only a couple hours over a certain amount of time. That one at least made a little more sense, why it was only a few. It was like just when the fog was there. Then it's not so much like boom, 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 every event happening back to back to back, and they don't have a second to breathe. We had a whole day in the werewolf one where he was just reading and hanging out waiting to, like, do the thing that they had planned for that night. So, like, I know they're supposed to be short, it's supposed to get through the stuff, but to see them go through a little bit of day-to-day is nice. I also really like the ones where there's multiple characters. I just liked the werewolf one. I don't know why. I shouldn't have liked it. But I liked that there were so many kids in it. The 2 main kids... that were hanging out, but then there was the whole group where they would like go around, because you get more like personalities in there, more things. A lot of the time they act very similar, but you have more opportunities for other people to be talking and them explaining things in the way of talking to other people instead of just explaining it to the reader like they're standing there. Yeah. Sometimes that feels really awkward, so they could explain to their friend or someone else, because the parents never listen, so they're not talking to them. I obviously love that the Dolls one had a female main character. That's the only one we've seen. The only one we've seen that it didn't start with a J, right? Mm-hmm. So that was weird. But I like that she did have her brother, too. He was there most of the time, but it was from her point of view.
For sure. No, I definitely agree. I think Sabrina was the strongest of the characters. I think Sabrina also was the most mature one, though. I think she was 12 and the others were a little bit younger, maybe 11 or 10.
They were probably like 11 or 12, but they just acted like they were like 9.
She always thought things out, always had rational thinking. She was like, no, there's no way this would happen. It took a while for her to believe that the dolls were coming alive, where the others are just like, oh my god, there's ghosts in the fog. Yeah. Like, they instantly fell for it.
One shadow, and they're like, I'm dying. And she's like, okay, there's a doll coming to life in my house, but I'm not going to believe it until I really, really see it more than once.
Yeah. I do like the Dolls ones out of all of them just because I think it has the strongest writing, and obviously it's a little bit higher of a reading level. I liked the doll ones as well because the parents felt like they were more part of the story. Not that they believed her. The parents never believed the kids, ever. The cholesterol things and having breakfast, like they were actually part of the story, which I really liked. For the series in total, I think there is some laughable moments in all of the books across the board. And it definitely helps if you have ADHD to read this, because it's all over the place. So this thing is just riddled with it. Yeah. And honestly, there were a couple of chapters that I was like, oh, what's gonna happen?
I actually found some that had real cliffhangers and foreshadowing at the end. Not just giving it away, like real ones. I was like, wow, we're getting there, okay?
But yeah, the fog one, I think, had really good potential. I really liked the idea of it, where there's animals in the fog because they got trapped in the fog, and if you get trapped in the fog, you have to stay in the fog forever, and there was that old man in there and stuff. So I think that I would like read an actual or watch a movie based off of this. And I know we have like the Fog movie, but I've never seen that. The werewolf one, I didn't love it. Nothing really stuck out to me. It was my least favorite. So what are some things that you would say that you did not like about the series or individual books?
Obviously, the parents all suck.
Oh, yeah.
Try to listen to your kids. If they're, like, so freaked out that they're having nightmares and screaming in the middle of the night, you should probably investigate a little more rather than just, like, get them a glass of water and put it on their table next to their bed and just be like, okay, go to sleep. Yeah. After your daughter's screaming in the middle of the night that a doll is gonna kill her, it's okay to not believe them because kids have really good imaginations and they like to make stuff up. But maybe, like, look into it a little bit more.
What is the core of the fear?
Yeah, like, there's something driving it. If your daughter finds dolls in the woods and then is absolutely terrified of them because they're coming to life, maybe help her put them back.
Yeah.
There's so many options. There's this huge fog covering all of Florida, or at least this area, and the parents are like, we're gonna go walk down to your grandparents and leave you alone, a 12 and an 8-year-old.
Yeah, take them with you.
Yeah, literally just take them with you, or stay home with them in the fog. Like, they're probably scared of the fog. They can't see anything.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no, it's okay. I'm gonna go. The werewolf one, I don't even remember the parents being involved very much besides yelling at them to come back inside at the end of the night. Try to listen to your kids a little bit. Try to help them with it. You don't have to be like, oh my gosh, absolutely this is happening, because you might add to the fear instead. If you're freaked out, they're gonna be freaked out. Do a little bit better.
Just pay attention. And do better. That was like my biggest talking point. Yeah. It's just do better.
Literally just do better as a parent to try. I get the books are supposed to be about the kids, and so like the kids might relate to them, but then these kids are going to be like, man, my parents won't care if this happens to me. Don't let kids reading this think that, because that would be scary. And then I think we need to see the actual monsters or like them doing the things they're supposed to be doing. The Fog Phantom one, the most filled with animals in the fog, and they're just like regular animals, but they're just made out of fog, so they're spookier, of course. But that was the most like action-packed as far as like they're chasing them, they're attacking them, and it's actually them.
Yeah.
Where the other ones, it was, the werewolf one especially, it was so much, you couldn't tell when it was actually the werewolf, and then every time it seemed like it wasn't, until the one time it was, and it was over in like a second.
Yeah.
It was like one page, and then he threw a little bottle of spices from his mom's cabinet on her, and then it was cured. I was like, okay, that seems...
If only it was that easy.
If it was that easy...
Greg would be okay.
Dude, I know our D&D campaign would be saved if I could just have a little bit of spices from my mom's cabinet. The actual scene with the real werewolf was just gone so fast. And then after that, I didn't believe anything else was a werewolf, because I was like, well, there was the one scene. Because they usually don't do much more than one big scene. Mm-hmm. And then in the Dolls book, there's the one scene where they're in the attic and then they get bigger. There's a lot of creepy moments of them like moving around, sneaking different places, being gone. But there's only one scene where they attack them. They get huge. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows why or how. They just get huge and then go small and then they're floating. And then they're like done. And I'm like, what's that? What? I need to know way more about this. I need context.
Yeah.
I really like when they were like trying to learn more about the things. In the werewolf one, he's trying to go to the library and learn about them. I get you might not be able to learn as much about like dolls coming to life or fog phantoms, especially when you're like currently being attacked by them and you can't even find your house, let alone the library. But, like, I really like when they're trying to learn and they're asking questions about it, even if they don't get a ton of information. But instead of them just being like, no, this is fine, I'm going to just sit here and just not think about it. Yeah. Because, like, you're not solving anything either, and then we're not learning anything at all. So we see it attack, but I don't know anything about it, and then it's gone. And I'm like, cool.
In the Fog Phantoms, I learned about those jellyfish.
That's true.
I did learn about them.
I won't lie, I was really confused when that first came up there. I really thought they were talking about, like, a soldier. Because they're called, like, a man-o'-war or something. I was like, wow, learn something new every day.
I honestly don't have a lot of dislikes, because these are, again, children's books. So I didn't go in with much critical thinking. But this is more just things I noticed while reading it. The conversations between the kids are so flat. I'm just like, wow, there's no emotion here. We just get the delivery and then we go. Felt like no character between them. Again, I think the dolls did the best with that, and I think the werewolves were definitely the worst. And that's harder because you have more kids to dialogue with. Also, the fast endings give you such whiplash. Resolve everything. Get pretty much the epilogue and then introduce the next person in the next book. You do all that within a chapter or two. The chapters are like max 3 or 4 pages. So I'm like, girl, we gotta take a second here and let me breathe.
I think they could put a couple more pages in a chapter. There doesn't have to be 38 chapters.
Yeah.
Like, I guess maybe it's easier for kids to stop after a couple pages, but I think you could give them, like, a little more than 3. I don't need 38 chapters in a book that's, like, 200 pages. Stop.
And then, obviously, this is across the board, but the screaming. Every chapter almost ends with a scream, or starts with a scream. And I'm like, okay. Listen, your vocal cords gotta be aching at the end of this. They're screaming the entire time. Specifically in the Florida Fog Phantoms, the amount of talk about dog poop was so annoying.
It was like 3 chapters worth. Like, that was more than the ending of the book.
Yeah.
Where we were like, get a resolution. It's like, no, here's 3 chapters about dog poop, and the book ends in 1 chapter.
Yeah. I noticed this specifically in the Fog Phantoms. The other books do it as well, repeating the same phrase over and over again. Like, and then I walked. And then I walked and kept walking. And I'm like, okay, you don't need to say it twice.
Yeah. You'll get there eventually. Just tell me when you get there.
So, talking about specifically the Fog Phantom, when it opened the book and it started talking about how the door was like creeping open, that gave me a chill. Because I don't like that sensation of a door opening and then just pitch black on the other side. Oof.
I bet you also hated the dolls one where they were looking in the basement and it was pitch black. I bet you probably hated that too.
Yeah, not as much as the door creeping open, but yeah, that one.
If you're not seeing that as much, it's not as scary. But you're like, I know what you're thinking right now, girl.
And then for the dad to literally come in there and wrap his entire hand around his son's neck. It's just weird.
Dude, the dad in this one was wildin'. I don't know what his deal was. They weren't even in it a lot. But something about this man, he's a weirdo.
Maybe he's related to the old guy in the fog.
That makes sense. Because he wraps his hand around his son's neck. He goes and steps in dog poop and makes it everyone's problem. Like it was the end of the entire world.
Yeah. He's like, my slipper's ruined.
And then he just disappeared into the fog when his kid is terrified.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, come back. You're gonna ruin your kid's life like that. And also, I need to just note it. Whose dad owns white pajamas? Because that's how it ended. Is the dad was standing there with white pajamas and he thought it was like the old man in the fog. I've rarely ever seen anyone own white pajamas. But a dad?
Set? And a
full
set. A full set.
Full body.
Did he have the like a little hat
He
too?
absolutely had the little cap and it was a nightgown. He just didn't say it.
Every book mentions that they have a mom and a dad. Let's normalize having same-gendered parents and
or just a single mom
or
a single dad.
Yep, or a single parent. Come on, Jonathan. I mean, this was written a while ago,
That's
so
true.
they
This
probably
was
didn't
early
age.
2000s, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't age great, but
let's rewrite them and give every kid gay parents, and then immediately none of this would happen because they would be like, "Girl, we're staying inside. What are you doing?"
Or have grandparents or guardians or foster parents.
They all had grandparents too. They all were like, "Oh, they're going to our grandparents."
This is setting unrealistic family standards.
Mm-hmm. You want these kids to relate to these kids, but you know how many kids don't have two parents, mom and dad, and grandparents?
Right. I want a book about him going to 2 Christmases because his parents are divorced, so he has to walk down the street.
Yeah, and the Fog Phantom has a little Santa hat on and follows him to both Christmases.
But no, I think the Fog Phantom definitely had the most potential in their story. I just wish there was more. Because we're talking about missed opportunities, some things that I would have done differently.
Yeah, I think the Fog one had the best idea overall because it was something I hadn't really seen before. Obviously, we've all seen werewolves a million times. If you've seen Twilight, you know what a werewolf is. You know about them. Mm-hmm. So that one is, like, not groundbreaking. It's hard to do it really bad, but he was almost there. But I think this one had such great potential that anything could be in the fog. I don't understand how sharks got in the fog or a whale, if I'm being honest, because fog can't go into water and shark can't come out of water.
Well, whales can. They have to come up and breathe. But
all the way? Or just a little bit?
They don't jump out of the water? Sharks don't jump out of the water
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm going to show you a shark video after this.
Just dolphins do that.
No, sharks come up and grab the fish and they hit the water.
So they just conveniently jumped up at the time the fog was lifting. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a little hard to
What if it was a beach
because
shark?
Oh, is it because during a hurricane, the fog? That makes sense, because the water comes out of water.
I think you need to do some critical thinking before you question Jonathan Rand.
I'm just saying it was interesting that it was all, like, aquatic animals, and then, like, a panther.
Yeah, there was a panther.
And then
the dog. Yeah. And then Amanda.
There was a lot of aquatic animals, so in my head I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I mean, there's a reason, I guess, they could have came out, but, like...
Yeah, explain that.
There should have been a crocodile. This is Florida. Missed opportunity.
Write that down. I would have really liked to see more of Amanda. So Amanda is the girl that helped them get out of the fog and explain the situation to them. I would have loved to see more of that, but I'm glad that we had one girl that didn't get a happy ending. Well, she got her dog back, so I guess she did get a little bit of a happy ending. But yeah, it's not like everything's sunshine and rainbow. She is now stuck in this fog with that creepy old man. Also, stranger danger.
Yeah. She's been stuck in this fog. I don't even know how long.
Yeah.
She didn't know how long.
Yeah, I really wish we would have gotten more, but obviously there's not a lot of time, so.
Yeah.
So, who is your favorite character in any of these books?
Okay, so my favorite character is probably a tie between Punky, which is the dog in the Fog Phantoms, the Fog Dog, because he brought along like a really dramatic storyline. Amanda was looking for him, and then Caitlin, she was looking for her dog too, so they had a little thing to relate on. Punky was like fighting back this old man, and then they were all like, oh my god, Princess got turned into a fog, and they were all upset about it, but it actually was Punky the whole time. He saved them, and they wouldn't have made it without him. Mm-hmm. Also, tied between the German werewolf hunter, Nicholas von Dugan. He was introduced so terribly and approached kids so terribly. Like, he probably doesn't talk to kids very often. No. So he didn't really understand the right thing to do. The worst thing to do is be creepy to them and then chase them to tell them something important. Mm-hmm. Maybe just approach better next time, dude. But I really love that he had, like, a business card. Yeah, werewolf hunter. And then they're like, you're from Germany? Oh my gosh. He's like, yeah, I came specifically to Madison, Wisconsin. There's a lot here. Don't tell them that. Oh my god.
Where's Demon Cass
exactly.
and Sam? Like,
I feel like he was giving off those vibes.
I said this in the last podcast that's about to come out, that I've done, this is now my 20th book on the podcast, and almost all of them have a Nicholas in it. And I read that, and I said, are you kidding me right now? The trend continues.
Yeah, dude, you thought that you were safe.
There and he
you
is.
Weren't. He popped up last minute. Yeah, name's Nick. You're like, no!
Nicholas, no!
Because all of the rest of them, you got away with it. And then he had to show up with his little business card. Thought that the idea of him as a character, Nicholas, was so funny. Because he was so bad at it when he was just trying to help them. And then they just, like, thought he was so creepy and told everyone that. Like, way to build a terrible reputation in this town, Nicholas.
Nice one. Luckily, he won't be there for very long.
That's true, because these kids are going to get rid of all the werewolves for him.
Yeah.
Like, he's been working there and he couldn't get rid of her. And then this kid threw one spice on her.
I like that they kept calling him a media specialist. And they were like, where's the librarian? She's like, he's a media specialist.
She's like, I will not stand for this.
You don't have a master's, okay?
We respect librarians in this place, okay?
I said my favorite was Shocker, Sabrina, from the Dangerous Dolls. Finally a female main character, always thought things through. She actually listened to her little brother. Like, her brother would come up with ideas, and she'd be like, oh my, you're a genius, yes. Like, she actually listened to him. Obviously, he was only, like, a year younger. He wasn't, like, a little brother, but they worked together, so I really liked her. I think she had the most depth in the characters, but again, across the board, they're not that deep. So.
Not that deep. She was good. I really liked that they came up with plans, and then they executed on them, and then when it didn't work, they came up with, like, another plan as a solution, instead of just being like, well, that didn't work, we're dead. I also loved that she actually cared about her mom. Like, that one was the most parents involved, but they were, like, gone, and they were like, Mom's alone at the house, and we learned more about these dolls. They're gonna hurt her. We gotta go. And they, like, got there in, like,
she went grocery shopping.
The fastest that any kid could ever ride a bike. But,
the adrenaline.
Yeah, I guess the adrenaline really got to it. They were like, we need a mom. We can't not fit into the American standard of parents. That makes sense.
So, with Wisconsin werewolves, can we talk about how they played hide and seek at night in a forest? Like, that's hardcore.
I would
okay.
Never.
Sign me up.
I wouldn't have survived in one of these books, let's be honest here.
Oh, well, that was my next question, actually, is out of the 3 books, which of these scenarios would you want to be in and think that you could, like, survive?
Wow. As a 12-year-old. Not now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's rough. I don't know if I could even survive any of these now, but as a 12-year-old, bro, I was such a sissy. Definitely not the dolls one. I was absolutely terrified of dolls as a child. Honestly, think I would probably do the best in the Fog Phantom one, because I have 20/20 vision.
That's a lot of running, though.
That is a lot of running. And you know what? I would probably just pull their move of, like, tuck and roll. I mean, the animals don't touch the ground.
Oh, okay.
So it's, like, perfect. You just go under them and you're good.
There you go.
I think that I would have the best luck there, because I wouldn't have thought to do the spice thing and then throw it on that. She would have killed me in the library, 100%. So, I mean, I guess fog. I'll beat the fog with my 20/20 vision, and everyone else around me who wears glasses would be like, my glasses are fogged up and you guys would all die. It would be like, well, sorry.
I said that I would do the dolls carry around a little squirt bottle and then just kick them down the stairs. What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? Get up? I'll just kick them back down.
That's genius.
There you go. You
I
just
think I could do that now, but as a 12-year-old, I wouldn't have made it. I would have been too scared. That's so funny. I mean, yeah, he did just throw a softball at them, and they absolutely were annihilated.
Yeah.
Thrown across the room. And then all they gotta do is waterboard them, and they stop. Like,
They did waterboard.
And it's like, not like I care about that old woman. She's gonna turn into a doll.
Yeah. So in the werewolf one, you know how the policeman came over? Is the policeman and the dad a thing?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Absolutely. He went over there, his dad made him some coffee, gave him a donut. I think he might have spent the night. Nobody checked his driveway last night.
Yeah. I think that they are a thing.
I agree.
They were in love.
Absolutely they were.
I don't remember the mom ever being mentioned.
No,
so.
I don't think that they mentioned his mom. They might have, but we ignored it. And he was just like, oh yeah, that's my dad's friend.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's friend.
I loved how Rand dropped his own name and his own books. In this one, Colette was like, wow, this is so scary. It's like one of my American Chiller books.
He did the same thing in the Dolls one, too. The mom even said, like, oh, you could write a book and call it Dangerous Dolls of Delaware.
Yeah.
I'm like...
Colette, like, literally name-dropped American Chillers.
I was like, okay, guys, let's calm down here.
Imagine Twilight being like, oh, wow, you remind me of the main character of Twilight. In Twilight.
It would have to at least be a New Moon.
Yeah.
Because you can't reference the book that you're in.
He did.
Yeah, but they weren't referencing that one.
You don't know. It just said American Chiller. So, exactly.
This is just like that book I read about the same city we're in with kids with our names. That's crazy. Do you think Jonathan Rand can see the future?
I mean, I think with those glasses, he can see anything.
That's true. But I really liked how they referenced, anytime he talked about a werewolf, two of his friends separately was like, you must have been looking at my sister.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, wow.
Stuart said that.
Yeah, Stuart said that, and then one of the other kids said it later. Everybody has an ugly sister? That's kind of mean. Or just all boys think their sister's ugly is probably the answer.
Yeah.
But I was just like, wow, disrespectful. And then the scene where they were like, librarians can't be werewolves was so funny to me for no reason. Because I'm just like, imagine just saying one specific occupation can't be something. No, governors can't be vampires.
Yeah.
Just them. Anyone else. Like, what? And he was so sure about it. It was like, no, they can't do it. And then when they were talking about her later, they said librarian/werewolf.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, stop. This shouldn't be this funny to me. And I was like, you know what? You're right.
You got me there.
You got me. Main point. I know I've heard that a million times before. I can't believe I didn't think of it.
I honestly didn't have a lot for the werewolves because it was mid, honestly, but it's okay.
I think the werewolf one had hands down the worst writing of all of them. As far as like just repeated the exact same thing over and over again. Characters were very flat.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny. I just had a great time.
So just gonna take a second here to shout out the Patreon subscribers.
So everyone on this list I'm about to read, you are invited to my Halloween party this year. No one else is allowed.
Everyone else are werewolves.
Oh.
Just kidding.
And your sister's ugly.
And your sister's ugly.
Okay, so here's the invite list for my Halloween party. Nick W., Bree P., Jack J., Cody H., Patrick C., Mike T., Emily P., Janeth P., Tim M., Ashley A., and Lulu. So we're going to have a great time at our Halloween party. You guys are all invited. You're all invited to dress up as American Chillers characters.
Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. It means the absolute world to me. And I enjoy doing this, and I'm glad that a couple people are listening to it. If you guys want to be part of the shout out, head over to Patreon and subscribe today. So what's up with the monsters? Like, all the monsters in all the books kept saying, you'll become one of us. Are they lonely? Are they okay?
I think that every book we chose had a very lonely monster in it.
Except the bats, out of all the series.
Yeah. Well, they didn't talk. But I think if they did, they would have said it.
Yeah.
But Maybe it's because Alec was already one of them.
Yeah, Alec could have spoke for them, but he didn't.
Extra special shout out to Alec from the Bionic Bats of Bay City.
We miss you.
We miss you, we love you. I hope you're having fun as a bat.
Go listen to that podcast so you can understand our conspiracy theories about Alec. But yeah, it was just funny that every single one of them was like, you'll become one of us. You're one of us now. Is that what kids are afraid of, is becoming something? Because I am too.
Yeah, I think so. I'm afraid of becoming something. It's a good tactic. I mean, if something is like, I'm going to kill you, I would be like, well, I would be like, thank you, please. But I would rather that than become stuck in the fog forever. And like, you can't do anything about it. You're fogged, so you can't even like die.
So like for Mrs. Kerwin, is all the dolls on her shelves all humans that have changed into dolls? Could that be a conspiracy theory?
Well, because every time I don't know if it was just like, that's the thing, is they want you to feel like it was just the kids being scared of all the dolls. But when they like opened the doors and they were like, they all looked at us like we were intruders. I think they actually did that. And he's just trying to cover it by being like, oh, just the kids thought that. You know, they're crazy.
Yeah. The kids
He's gaslighting
kids.
us.
Yeah.
John.
Gaslighting a lot.
Mr. Rand.
So who would you say, across the board, was your favorite relationship?
My favorite relationship was probably between Jeremy and Colette, because I think if he didn't have her, he would have been dead.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, all the girls in all the stories are the smartest ones, usually.
Yeah.
And it's just an actually scientific fact that girls mature faster than boys. They're doing way more critical thinking at 12 than the boys are, which is just true, and that's fine. But she had some good takes, some good ideas. She definitely helped him. Just the fact that she was like, yeah, I'll go with you everywhere he went was, like, very nice, because he didn't have any siblings.
Yeah, he was an only child. Yeah. She was his ride or die, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Bestie vibes right there. I mean, otherwise he would have been by himself, and then he would have been too scared to do things. Because she was like, all the other boys, they were scared. And she was just like, yeah, I'm down. Let's go. Got my flashlight. Let's go look for a werewolf.
Said that she was scared, and she's like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a legend, and I love her. But I just think that out of all of them, he wouldn't have made it through this without her. What was your favorite relationship?
Between two, okay? A girl and her collection. So I'm between either Colette and her collection of American chiller books, or between Mrs. Kerwin and her doll stash. My biggest thing with, I think it is going to be the doll stash, because I have a lot of questions. Why does she still have dolls? Because she was the little girl that the dolls traumatized her. She has to be traumatized from her childhood. Why does she collect dolls? I don't understand why she has all those dolls when those dolls try to kill her.
Okay, so I think it's a form of exposure therapy that got out of hand.
Maybe.
So, like that's a huge thing. Yeah, it's like, if you do exposure therapy on a hoarder, what happens? So this is the answer. Get over 3,000 dolls. It depends, like, the size of them. Because if they're, like, pretty decent-sized dolls, 3,000 is a lot. If they're pretty tiny...
They're like Polly Pockets.
It's not insane. Yeah. If you have 3,000 Polly Pockets, that's one bookshelf.
Dude, the smell of the Polly Pocket clothes in your house would be overwhelming.
Oh my god, but you'd have so many options to chew on.
True. They'd be
and
so
that's
chewy.
all a girly wants. Is a little Polly Pocket dress to chew on.
So with the Dolls of Delaware, I really liked that it started out differently. It started out with them, like, right in the action of digging up the dolls, instead of being like, this is Delaware.
Yeah.
The biggest state, blah, blah, blah. Like, giving facts about Delaware. I don't care about Delaware. I don't want the location settings. Just tell me what's going on. Also, the beginning of this book was giving me Mummies of Mackinac vibes.
Yeah, the digging up the worms.
Yeah.
I literally read the first page and I was like, do I have the right book?
I was like, no, because that one was so bad.
Yeah,
I was like,
was
please.
one of the worst books I've ever read.
I was more intrigued in this one, and it kept my attention better. Because this was, you could tell it's definitely for, like, intermediate readers.
It's like a step up.
Yeah. But I have a question. Why were there two dolls? Because the girl doll was really the only one that ever did anything. The boy just tagged along.
Isn't that how it always is? I wonder if it was like to try and balance out Sabrina and her brother Spencer. The girl doll and the girl were the main characters, and then you had the boys. But obviously Spencer did way more than the boy doll did.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be the reason, is so it was balanced type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he really didn't do much. They could have just had him do... But if he did more, they would have been dead. Because then, like, they could hardly withstand just the girl.
I think the girl would have been enough. Just one doll.
Yeah.
Or have Spencer get traumatized by the boy and she was getting traumatized by the girl. Split them apart like that.
We have established that all of these monsters are lonely. So she just didn't want to be by herself. So there's another doll with her. That's like her henchman.
Oh, got it. Doing all her bidding.
Yeah.
Because she didn't feel like it.
Yeah. And she was like, I don't want to be by myself. I'll get kind of bored. So...
Yeah, I liked that the dolls were, like, deteriorating. They didn't have much hair, any hair at all. The details in the dolls were pretty nice.
Yeah, I like also that on the cover it shows the girl doll has the missing hair plugs, too.
Yeah.
As they described in the story. And then they were, like, dirty the whole time and stuff.
Yeah.
I like that they didn't try to clean them off.
Yeah.
From pulling them out of the dirt. Because they would have found out so quickly that the water worked.
Mm-hmm.
So they went to this antique shop.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved that when she pulled out the dolls, the lady started screaming. It was funny because the kids are so calm, and then you see the adult woman screaming, but she was screaming about a spider.
Yeah.
And that also, like, added to the fear of, she thought that she was screaming about the dolls, so she was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then they had to kill the spider for her. Weird.
Yeah.
But then also the fact that she was just so quickly like, I don't know anything about these. Go to this random woman's house that you've never met.
Literally stranger danger.
Maybe if they were with their parents, even then, I would be like, no. Can you, like, call her and have her come here? Why do I have to go to her house? And then her house looking like a dollhouse.
That should have been the first.
I would have turned around. But also, I kind of want my house to look like a dollhouse.
She said
I might go in, though. Because I'd be like, this is kind of dope.
Yeah, she said that the door was even, like, looked like plastic. Like a plastic door.
Like, how do you... And they didn't ask enough questions about it. Because I would have walked up and been like, yo, what's this? What did you do?
They just accepted that she was a doll, too.
She's just terrifying.
I'm just confused about the dolls. Again, I want to know more. Because she said that she wished upon a star.
Uh-huh.
And she wished and dreamed that she had friends. Because obviously these dolls that were haunting these kids were her dolls when she was young. So she waterboarded them and then put them in a box and dug them in the forest. Also, why did you not go farther away from your house? Or, like, away from a city?
Well, she was just a kid. She can't go that far without her parents.
I mean... Let's be real. The guy from Mackinac went all the way to Egypt. So.
That is true. And all it did was start with digging.
Yeah. How did they get bigger? How did they float in the air? I'm confused.
Girl, I wish I had an answer for you. I'm confused too. I was like, oh, so they just get bigger. The first time that happened was in her nightmare that she had where the doll got human-sized.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they describe it makes it seem like they're way bigger than adult human size. But... then they say, like, oh, adult size. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot of different sizes that can be adult sized.
Yeah.
Is it, like, your mom, who's 4'11"?
Yeah.
Or is it, like, someone who's 6'5"? I need to know this.
Probably average human size.
I guess.
I will say at the end of this book, when she got her letter from Mike through the mail, I was interested. I wanted to read the next one, because what is a virtual vampire?
I don't know. I liked that it was like he sent a letter because now he's scared to use the internet.
Yeah.
And I was like, this one might be setting up to be a good one. But I didn't read the first 5 chapters that are at the end of the book because then I felt like I was going to want to read it and I wouldn't have it. So I'd have to have my mom drive me to the Barnes & Noble.
Get another one.
Get it, and it just wasn't in the cards.
Yeah. So every Jonathan Rand book and the American Chillers and the Michigan Chillers always ends with the main character meeting the main character of the next book. So is there a Randverse? Kind of like a Marvel Universe kind of deal. So all of this happens in the same universe. Why is no one saying anything?
Because nobody believes the kids. And no adult has ever seen anything.
Oh, so the librarian and the Mrs. Kerwick, they just keep it to themselves. Yeah. Oh, okay.
They're not real adults. They're part of the plot.
I wonder if there is one thing that commands it all. Is there like an end goal, like a Thanos of like Randverse?
It's Jonathan Rand. He's the Thanos.
He's the Thanos. So he's commanding all of these things to happen. Because like in the Bats, they explained it away. They're like, oh, there was something in the fertilizer, and people knew about it. Outside forces knew about it. It was on TV and stuff, so people knew about that. And then there's like a dinosaur in Detroit one, and like, how do you hide away dinosaurs in the middle of Detroit?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to read that one and figure it out.
So I'm just curious if there's like a whole system there.
We should buy every single one and then read them in order so we can see how they connect. And then we can make one of those crazy person wall things where there's like the
connections.
Strings.
Yeah.
What does it mean? And there's just a giant picture of Jonathan Rand in the middle. Because, I mean, really, he's the Thanos. He's the god.
Yeah.
Of the universe. And if it's all happening at the same time to where they're all connecting, somebody in number 11 knew Sabrina. That's what doesn't make sense, right? So in number 11, right, they would be finding out at the end of this one from her what happened. So they're all happening at the same exact time within 1 week. In the Jonathan Rand universe.
Well, they also have to travel, though. Because, like, at the end of the Fog Phantoms, he went fishing and met someone from somewhere else. Yeah. So they have to travel to Florida. So I think there would be time skips there.
But then in the one before that, I don't know.
You have to get all of them.
I'm going to buy every single one.
You have to buy all of them and read it?
I'm going to get a new bookshelf. And it's just going to be Michigan Chillers at the top, American Chillers.
And then the third shelf is going to be binders full of, like, maps and the lines.
Sides of them say, like, what does it mean? Werewolves equal librarians?
Yeah.
All of the things connecting them. My life's work here.
So we're going to play a little game. So do you remember in school when you had this little thing called a Venn diagram?
Yeah. I actually was quite fond of Venn diagrams.
Guess what? We're back in school and you're going to be filling a diagram of these 3 books. So again, we have Florida Fog Phantom, Wisconsin Werewolves, and Dangerous Dolls of Delaware. You have 13 ideas that happened within the book, and you are going to place them within the Venn diagram. And whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start reading where you put things, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
Okay, I'm aiming for at least 80% on this.
Okay.
Okay, number 1 has a main character with a name starting with the letter J. I put that one between Werewolves and Fog Phantoms. Number 2 has a dog named Rufus. It's either the Dolls or the Werewolves. I put it in Dolls. I know it's not the Fog Phantoms. Number 3, the main character has a sibling. That is between Fog Phantoms and Dolls. 4, at least 3 people have screamed during the events of the book. I put that in the middle. Everyone is constantly screaming. 5 events took place right after a storm. I put that in the Fog Phantoms. 6 characters took multiple trips to the library. That one I put in Werewolves. 7, the main character has at least 5 friends. I think that's just Werewolves. 8, characters need to have a better understanding of stranger danger. I put that in the middle, because you could say all these characters need to learn to not talk to anyone. 9, the siblings are only 1 year apart. That's in Dolls. 10, introduce the next story via snail mail, which is also in Dolls. 11, the story involved the police. That is between Werewolves and Dolls. 12 has a female narrative. Obviously, that's Dolls. And 13 claimed to be so scary that the reader could not or should not continue the story if frightened easily. I only remember this one in Werewolves and Dolls. I wrote it down for both of those, so I put it just between those 2.
All right. So you got 11 right.
Yes!
I think that's like 90-something%.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So the only ones you got wrong is the werewolf and the dolls both have a dog named Rufus. Okay. One's a border collie. The other one was something else.
Because Rufus was their dog in Dolls, but in Werewolves,
it was Tyler's dog.
It was someone else's.
And then the other one is 13. It is in the Fog Phantom one. It's very quickly in there. That was fun. You passed, I think,
It was fun. I think I passed too. That was like a B+, A-.
Yeah. So what are some things that you personally would have done different, would have changed if you were writing this book? This is just purely your own opinions.
Obviously, as an adult, I want there to be more bad things that happen, more actual consequences. I get that they're for kids. I don't want kids to be scarred for life from these. They're supposed to just be like fun little spooky things. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Princess should have became a fog phantom.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When they did that, when they like pretended, it went for like a little while where they pretended, and I was like, yes.
Same.
I was so happy. I was like, you guys did it. You did something that I feel like the reader could move on from in life. It wouldn't scar them for life.
Right.
And then, of course, Princess had to be fine, and it was actually just... Also, when they described her, it didn't even look like the same dog. I think these kids were just kind of dumb. Because they were, like, white, and I'm like, obviously it'd be white, because it's, like, Fog Phantom now. Mm-hmm. She was, like, a Great Dane or something. Yeah. And Punky was, like, not. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I think you could tell the difference between dog...
They were going through a lot.
That's true. The trauma.
The trauma.
That makes sense. Princess became a fog phantom or stayed one. I would have been happy with that. I would have been impressed. A little bit of bad consequences. Like, I don't think any of the kids need to die or anything like that. They get in trouble for something, actually. Like, I did like that Sabrina actually got in trouble for scaring her brother, even though he did the exact same thing to her, which is, like, typical. Mm-hmm. But she, like, literally was grounded for a whole week, and then it showed you that whole week to set it up, so that was, like, kind of funny. Obviously, the Fog Phantoms needed a crocodile, as I said earlier. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that jellyfish and, like, the other stuff in Florida, but, like, classic Florida animal, crocodile. One thing that I thought was so funny is the book went through all the Florida things. Their state flower, their state bird, and I was like, what the heck? Okay, like, I didn't remember those being in there, but I like the educational aspect. I didn't check if the other books had them, but I feel like they probably did. I think the Wisconsin werewolves conversation's very flat. I've had some great conversations with kids that are very full of energy and might be insane, and they might not know what they're even talking about. It's a bunch of kids talking to each other about something insane, like seeing a werewolf. They're gonna have more emotion and crazy things to say. Yeah. You get a little, especially when you have like 5 or 6 kids, someone can be a little out of pocket and say something crazy. Like
Stuart, the Savage.
That's true. Stuart the Savage talking about his ugly sister. Yeah, I feel like the dolls, it was just missing more information on the dolls. I don't know if maybe Miss Kerwin didn't just know more about them, because she did give them information, but I guess she probably never figured out how the dolls got their power and stuff. But, like, if I had these dolls and then I ended up burying them in the forest because they were taking my life force from me, I would do a little bit more research in my adult years, or after I buried them, to figure out what was happening and see if I could come up with something more than just, I buried them and I got over it and hoped that no one found them again. But yeah, just more information about each of the monsters or whatever. I think that that's stuff that kids care about. They would want to learn more about them. The closest we got was the werewolves one, where he's doing a little research about them, but we still didn't really get a lot of information. He learned something, and then he was like, oh, I learned something that was crazy, and then he was like, I kept reading, and I was like, what was the thing?
Tell us. I said that I don't think every chapter needed to end in a cliffhanger. The dolls was definitely better, because there was some times where it just ended, and then it wasn't like, you're not going to believe what happened next, or anything like that. It just ended, and then the next chapter started. The Fog Phantoms, I really would have liked there to be an end goal, instead of them just running around because they couldn't see anything. You know, they ran around, but they didn't know where they were going, like everything was gone. I really would have liked to see some sort of end goal instead of just waiting. Also, I agree that Princess should have been taken. It's a life lesson.
Dude, yeah. And don't let your dog be running around in the fog. You'll get turned into a fog phantom.
Yeah, and then when you're a parent and your family dog dies, just let your kid read this book and tell them that it got taken by the fog.
Is that worse or better?
Yes.
Because it's, like, better to know that they're, like, they'll live on forever, but they're, like, not with you.
Yeah, and then every time it gets foggy, you just go, there goes Princess.
you send, okay, so you're saying that you send your spouse outside, and they're outside barking. Like,
yeah.
They're like, sounds just like Princess. Wow, that's actually much worse. Don't do that to your kids.
For the werewolf, just more dialogue that isn't so forced. and calm down a little bit. We don't need to go so fast. The dolls, I said that I would have mentioned Mike a little bit earlier because Serena's like, oh, I email him all the time. Didn't make a mention that he hasn't emailed her back in weeks or whatever it was. I'll be like, oh, I should email Mike later, my friend from Vermont, but I'm a little busy right now. Just like a little mention.
It's always just thrown in very last second, very forced, the meeting the other people. Because, like, especially, like, the Fog Phantom one, they just walk onto a beach and they find a kid, and this kid's like, you want to know what happened to me?
You want to hear about New York?
That's the first thing you say. Do you want to hear my trauma?
Yeah.
You're trauma dumping on each other immediately.
All right, so unfortunately it is time for us to go, but before we do one last thing. We do a rating scale. It's going to be a little bit different this time. We are still going to make up our own thing, but because we have 3, we're just going to go ahead and rate all of them, because why not? I would give Florida Fog Phantoms 3 creepy, creamy fog strangers haunting in the creamy fog out of 5. We didn't even talk about it. The amount of time he said creamy.
That was the number one thing on my list. Just the descriptive words of the fog. Like, there's only so many, I get that. But keep creamy and milky out of it. Because it was absolutely disgusting.
It wasn't my favorite, but it had potential, and I liked that.
I rated mine, I was rating them out of American Chillers books only. So my numbers are higher, okay?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Not based on every book I've ever read, because I didn't want to give them, like, 2s. That feels mean. So this is based on American Chillers rating scale. So the Florida Fog Phantoms, I gave it 5 dads in white pajamas with dog poop slippers out of 10. I think it was a great concept. I think it could have been done way better. Like you said, this is like an adult novel with the Fog Phantoms and stuff. That would be pretty fantastic. I think it could be done really well, and I think you should do it, and then send me the link. Thanks.
Are you talking to the listener?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking to anyone who's listening right now.
Jonathan?
Johnny boy.
For the Wisconsin Werewolves, I gave it 2 media specialists by day, werewolf hunters by night out of 5.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Thanks. It's basic. It's werewolves we've seen 1,000 times. It's nothing special. The plot really didn't drive that much. I think if I was a kid reading this, I would not suggest this to anybody else.
This one, as we know, I liked it way too much. So on the American Chillers rating scale, I give it 7 clumps of werewolf hair in a grocery store bag out of 10. I don't know, I just thought this one was so funny. I liked how the writing was like so bad that it was like such a good time to me. Like I'm looking for that in these books now because I'm used to it. So it was like stupid, it was funny, there was some good lines in there. I had a great time reading it.
So for the Dangerous Dolls of Delaware, I gave it 4 waterboarded dolls dug from a hole out of 5. I like this one the best. I think it was just the most mature one. I was left with a lot of questions that were unanswered, but I think it was an alright story.
I gave it 6 doll hands creeping over your bed frame out of 10. I know that this one was better written, but it almost was like disappointing to me that it was better written. Like the words were smaller. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like this is almost like getting close to what an actual book should look like.
It was too high of a level for her.
Maybe I shouldn't have read it last. Then I got confused. I was like, whoa, what kind of book am I reading? Yeah, it was way too high of a level for me. I can only read at 2nd grade level or below.
Picture books are her ideal.
Yes, that would be amazing if you guys have any suggestions.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you're not late to wherever you were going. I know I just stopped you.
I was just wandering.
Okay.
I was just walking around and I was writing the next book about Sterling Heights.
Oh, you can't say our location out on the internet.
Well, I was writing the next book about the Michigan Chillers, the city that we're in, Redacted.
Oh, okay. We're still working on the title.
Yeah. It's just called Redacted of Redacted right now.
Well, thank you so much. I don't believe you're on again until Christmas.
I'm only on for holidays.
Yeah, and my birthday, which is a holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Stay spooky. Bye.
Thank you for turning the pages with us today. If you've enjoyed this episode, show your support by leaving a review, sharing the episode, and following the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast. Join us on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Hope you are too.